Hi, it's Heather. Yes, it's hot. Yes, I'm having a bad hair day. And yes, I have a new boo boo. But that's another story. This morning, I'm out here in my garden real quick, uh, watering because where I'm at in Indiana, we've moved into kind of a new, at least pre drought situation, um, if not a drought. We've had unusually high temperatures throughout the month of June. Um, we were kind of saved because we had a lot of rain um, this spring, and this is why I will never complain about it raining in the spring. However, uh, the high temperatures and uh, lack of rain throughout the month of June has left plants kind of stressed out. So I know, you know, I I like to water before, um, especially my large trees show stress. Um, but anyway, so especially younger trees, that have been planted within the last 2 or 3 years, we want to make sure that they get a good drink. And so that is what I'm out here doing right now. This is my favorite method of watering. If you have the time, uh, is just having a hose on. You can do it as a trickle while you're out doing some weeding or whatever. Um, but when we use a hose, it gives us a chance to see how well water is actually percolating into the soil. And that's actually an arborist term, percolation rate. And so this gives me a good idea that the soil around the tree that I'm watering has a good aeration. It still has some macropores, which is where we have air spaces, um, and so okay, we've already hit that point, but I'm still going on. Anyway, just the way the water's flowing into the soil gives me a really good idea that the soil is in good condition and that the plants are going to be able to use the water that I'm giving them. And so, also, too, just it's really important to remember, when we're watering our smaller plants, this is giving us a chance to also water our bigger trees. In general, the older a tree is, the longer we want to go before drink or between drinks. So, like a established tree, like I think these oak trees are about 70 years old. They would benefit from a deep drink once a month, and they have like the ditch out there that they drink from. So, I think honestly they're pretty good. They're showing just a titch of stress right now, but everything is, my yard's looking pretty good. I'm not worried, but I do like to water beforehand before we get to a point that's you know before it gets difficult. Um, anyway, when you're watering, and I'm going to just preface this by saying, too, any advice that I'm giving is for gardens and landscapes that have a heavier soil, like a higher clay content. Our water maintenance is going to be different from someone with a primarily loamy soil or sandy soil. So, if you're in northern Indiana, this may not pertain to you. But anyway, so why do we have to water? So basically, trees function with hydraulic pressure. And so what that needs to support the tree is a constant availability to water. So the closest I can describe water stress to, kind of a non-arborist would be, it's kind of like having an air bubble, in a vein for a human. It that disrupts the flow of blood and can kill you if it gets to your heart. So the same thing happens when we get an airspace in the xylem of a tree's vascular system. It can kill off that section, and maybe not all the circumference of a tree will be damaged, but that one section can be, and then that gives a chance for decay or just general stress. Other parts of the tree have to take up the slack if they're available to do so. So that is why we have to water. Another reason why we should water, like in Bloomington, our lake was at peak capacity this spring. So we're going into summer, in a good place that way. And I'm not saying we should waste water, but it's important when we have unusually high temperatures to water early. What happens, I'm going to have to go back and see if I can actually find the study on this. A physicist at IU actually came up with the math to describe what happens to soil once the water is gone. So when we have high temperatures and no rain, first the sun needs to cook the water so that it evaporates out of the soil. Then, once the water is gone out of the soil, all it has to heat is the soil. So as the soil heats up, it's easier to heat up, and it ends up becoming kind of like a heat mirror. And so that can in turn kind of beget more heat. Drought begets drought, heat begets heat, because once the humidity and moisture from the soil is gone, the humidity from the air, we're just getting that hot, dry air. And dry air can be kind of hard to move out of an area. So, it's, any moisture coming up from the Gulf is going to get eaten up by the dry air. And, any little tricks the trees have, putting out little poofs of dust to help, a rainstorm start. Those don't work when we have dry air. And so basically I'm putting this out today because it's June, and kind of around town it's kind of looking like it's August. And maybe we'll get some moisture coming up from the Gulf hurricane season. Not that I want bad hurricanes, but traditionally when we're this dry here, this early, that can really settle us into a drought, and then we can start seeing, trees really become stressed, damaged, and die. So anyway, when you're watering, like I'm watering my little baby tree here, we want to make sure that the area that we're watering gets a little wider every year, because what we want to do with younger plants is to help them grow out of their hole. Like when we plant a plant, we know about the size of hole we have, and so we have a good idea where the capillary roots are. When we continue to water in that one area as time goes by, we're kind of missing the chance to, have the water hit the capillary roots. So, those watering bags that, are used a lot of places, those can work, if they're maintained and monitored, but at some point, it's not going to help the tree. So, they're okay to get a tree going, and they're important for municipalities because they don't have the time to sit and water every dang tree. But really, if you have a chance to just sit with your plant and water it and move the hose yourself, you know for sure that it was watered. There wasn't like a kink in the hose, or that maybe the bag had a leak and went someplace else. This is what I really recommend. So this is different than watering in a plant when we plant it. This is maintenance, and yeah. So another thing, I'm always saying that. So another reason to consider watering is back in, I think our last big drought was 2011. And ironically, that year, there were water restrictions here because the utilities department was actually increasing the capacity for water treatment and just the whole lake thing and everything. And so, we weren't able to water that year, which was kind of devastating. But when we have a drought or an extended drought, that same year is when I noticed headlines in Texas talking about foundations that were damaged because of the dry soil. So, not only can, street trees that we need to live die, but your foundations can be damaged. It can just get dangerously hot. Your air conditioner is going to be working all the time, and that's going to be pumping out hot air into the surrounding air. And it's just this whole heat cycle. So by watering, we're really helping not only the plants, but we're helping to mitigate temperatures in our area. And, with considering all the other utilities that we have to pay for, water, when it's properly applied and monitored, is one of the less expensive utilities in our area. So just in case we get to a point this summer where, for whatever reason we do have water restrictions, get out and, you know, make sure your trees have a drink. Let's just say you don't have like a garden, but maybe have like a tree or two in a lawn situation. You know, pick like a tree that you're gonna give a drink to. And oh my goodness, we got little people in the garden. Um, and set the hose at a trickle at, you know, outside of the last leaves on a branch, and just do like a trickle for like, you know, I would say at least 4 hours. You know, just go around. This is not going to be a lot of water, but just move the hose throughout a series of hours. It's really great if you can do it overnight. But you know, if this is your first chance trying to take care of a tree, just make sure it gets a drink. So also, oh God, also when so right now, Bloomington, I notice everyone is mowing their lawns super short. This is not good for keeping it cool. So, you know, whether you are mowing or you have someone else mow your lawn, you want to have your deck set at the highest setting, ideally 5 inches. Plus, you know, that's going to keep mowers from damaging tree roots too. So anyway, I'm going to try and get a few more videos done today. But anyway, if you have any questions about trees or watering or gardening in general, feel free to comment down below. And hopefully, I'm trying to get a group going here that, you know, can have a good influence for our urban forest and trees in general. So, you know, consider subscribing and or at least liking the video. So hopefully this little boo-boo is gonna go away in a while. And I hope you have a great weekend. Thanks.